My son asked if I could make him a stuffed animal teddy bin. He was using a canvas bin and would have to dump out the entire bin to find the characters that he wanted to play with. This bin has elastic cords on all sides, so you can pull out a stuffed teddy from any side. Hi, I'm AJ and you're watching Woodified. I make DIY and woodworking videos to save you time and money. First step is to cut out all the parts. Here I'm cutting 1x4 pine. You can see I'm checking my sheet of paper. I drew the plans up in SketchUp and I made myself a cut list before I started cutting out the parts. I had some warped and twisted 2x4s that I decided I'd rip in half and use those for the posts. But if you don't have any 2x4s, or if you were making this from scratch, you could just buy 2x2s at the hardware store and then you don't have to mill it up. So if you don't have a planer and a jointer, that's the way you should go. I'm only doing this because, well, I didn't want to buy any more wood. On the jointer, I squared up one edge and one face. And here on the planer, I am squaring up the opposite face. Over the table saw, setting it to 1.25 inches. Make sure that I get the square edge against the fence. And I'm going to rip this down. Once I set the blade height, I tried to power on the saw and I realized it wasn't plugged in. With the support posts cut out, I can head over to the miter saw and trim those up. Again, I'm trimming the factory edge to make sure that it's nice and square. I take my measurement and cut it. I need a post for each corner. So let's review the parts that we need for this project. We have 4 posts, which are 24 inches or 610 millimeters in length, and those are 1.25 inch. We have 4 1x4 pine boards at 14.75 of an inch or 375 millimeters, and we have 4 1x4 pine at 16.25 inches or 414 millimeters. Oh, here's a treat. You get to see my homemade coupler. Hooks my shop vac dust collection up to my random orbital sander. While I sand these boards, let me tell you a little bit about my sponsor. I don't have a sponsor. If you'd like to sponsor me, send me an email. Let me know. For everyone else, please smash that thumbs up button. You'll be supporting my channel. So one day, I might actually have a sponsor. Alright, so failed here sanding. I put that big chip off there. But no big worries. Just sand it so it's not splintery. And you just put that on the bottom. This white is actually primer. It's a product called Bin. I'll leave a link down in the description below. I find Bin does a good job of hiding the knots or any of the sap from bleeding through the paint. So set my combination square. Can't see that, but it's 10 mils. So I'm going to drill the holes to be down the center of the board. Now set my combination square to 1 inch. I'll mark up and down on the bottom. Those would be my hole locations to drill. I'm using a countersink bit. I want to drill a hole and countersink my screws. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug these holes with some wooden plugs. so you won't see the screws at all. But I still like to have the plugs lined up, because even though after it's painted, you'll still be able to see where the wood plugs are. You can see my bit, it's getting a little dull. The countersink bit tore out a little piece of wood, but to fix this, just save that chip and you can glue it back in place, sand everything, you're going to paint it, so it'll look good. Once you have some plugs cut, you can take a slotted screwdriver and pop those out. Check the links in the description for links to the countersink bits and the plug cutter. To assemble the frames, I found it helpful to clamp one of the boards right to the workbench, and then I could drill through and screw it in place. I did this all the way around until I had one of the boxes complete, and then I repeated that for the second box. To screw the frames together, I'm using 1 3/4 inch screws. With the two box frames screwed together, I can whip out the tape measure and measure on the diagonal, and you should get the same measurement. If you do, your boxes are square. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Don't leave me hanging. You know what to do. After popping out some plugs, take a little bit of glue in each screw hole and a little mallet there, tap those plugs into place.
Oh, I broke my bit. Oh, I broke another bit.
My countersink drill bit is super dull, but I'm struggling through it here, trying to get this project done. With the supports attached to the bottom frame, I then clamp the top frame in place and screw it into place. This is what the bin looks like when it's all screwed together. I did wood plugs on the outside of the frames, but I did not do wood plugs on the inside support pieces because the stuffed animals are going to be hiding those. Here I'm marking the hole locations for the elastic cords. I sketched it up in SketchUp ahead of time. So I had a plan, I had my spacing, and I just making sure that I lay it out perfectly. When I drill the holes for the elastic cord, I am using a piece of scrap wood in behind so the drill bit doesn't blow out the hole on the back side of the frame. If I was to build this bin again, I'd probably drill the holes before I put everything together, and I'd definitely do one sanding instead of two, but I drilled the holes after I put everything together, and there was little splinters that I didn't want little fingers to get poked. So I sanded a second time. Here I'm just using my punch to make sure that there's no splinters inside the hole where my sander couldn't reach. It helps when you put the elastic cord in that you can actually push it all the way through. If I do it again, I would make these holes one drill bit size larger. It would make life easier feeding it through. I found this elastic cord online. I'll put a link down in the description below. To help feed the elastic cord through the holes, it's helpful if you melt the end. There's a fabric around the inner elastic cable, and it frays. So it's like trying to push a string uphill, maybe? I don't know, it's really hard to do unless you melt the end, because when it's frayed, it just doesn't go through the hole. I didn't want too much slack in the elastic cords, so I did stretch them out a little bit, and I just played them. I listened to the sound and the feel to see roughly if the tension was the same on each of the cords. To hold the elastic cords in place, I just tied a simple knot in each end. I then went around with the lighter and melted the end so each cord would not fray. Be careful, that melted cord is hot, super hot, like burn yourself hot.
Boing. Boing.